Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
For films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome back to The Rewatch. My name is Samuel.
And my name is Jaden.
And today we have a very special guest on the podcast, and that is our good friend Harry. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Today we're going to be talking about The Bad Batch, which the finale just recently or semi-recently aired on Disney+. We're going to give you all of our thoughts, so definitely spoiler warning for the entire season. Lads, we're all Star Wars fans at this table. And so I think, our opinions are going to be shaped by that.
Yep.
We like Star Wars. I'm sure we are all big fans of Season 7 of The Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
And a lot of people have said that this is Season 8 of The Clone Wars. but I ask you, is it as good?
No. By a mile, it's nowhere near as good as Season 7 of The Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So let's chat about the characters first. So obviously The Bad Batch, they appeared in Season 7 of The Clone Wars for a couple episodes. And then Dave Filoni decided he wanted to do an entire series on them. Guys, the characters of The Bad Batch, were there any that actually interested you or gripped you? Like, do you have your favourites of the characters themselves, or are they just all a bit...
Yeah. Oh, look, I enjoyed the Rambo-style Hunter.
Yeah. I never made
fun.
that connection. Though.
Yeah.
That's actually a
Yep.
good connection.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think a fan favourite probably might be Echo, considering that he's been part of the main squad back in the Clone Wars, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say Hunter as well. I mean, they're all voiced by D. Bradley Baker, and the guy's fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible.
With what he's able to do. I mean, he literally runs this show by himself.
He must be a millionaire.
Yeah, you would think so. But in terms of like the main squad, I think Hunter's kind of like the leading force.
Yeah.
But all of the other characters, I don't really know. It's just not really, as important as, Ahsoka or Darth Maul were in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. And, are we into spoiler territory now? Okay, yeah. So it's cool seeing Cad Bane come back. But I wouldn't really call him like a main character of the show,
Right.
So I'd probably have to say Hunter was my favourite.
Yeah. For me, probably Wrecker was my favourite, just because he was kind of funny sometimes.
Yep.
I'd never really got attached to any of the other ones, really, to be honest. I don't remember much of them in their debut in Season 7. And the team themselves are all sort of stereotypes, right? You've got the hunter, you've got the sniper, you've got, the muscle. And I thought they were sort of going to explore each of the characters, perhaps as the episodes went on, but I just felt like that sort of depth was never really given. And I think the priorities were sort of, in another character that was brought in. But just to say on the Bad Batch, I enjoyed some of them, and they're a fun team sometimes, but I don't know, they seem like all of the same character, just with different models. There's not really any distinctive traits, I get that one has a nerd voice and likes to recite numbers and stuff, but is there anything that made Tech more interesting or less interesting than Hunter? It's I don't really know the difference.
Well, I think it's just more so more was put into Hunter as a main character than his brothers. But yeah, you're completely right in saying that there wasn't much development to the characters, and I think that'll come with later seasons. I mean, it's already been set up for a Season 2. It's been announced. And it's probably going to be continuing on like the Clone Wars did for who knows how many seasons. I mean, the Clone Wars started out with its first season being an absolute flop.
Yeah.
And then obviously fans have come to recognize it as one of the best pieces of Star Wars media. So it's hard to gauge whether, it's good right now. But, I think we all are pretty settled on where we stand with this in terms of a rating,
We've had this sort of discussion before about Disney Plus shows, but I prefer not to watch them week by week. Like I know you two watch them week by week, right?
Yeah, well, towards the end with The Bad Batch, I kind of fell off.
It wasn't exciting. It wasn't like, I can't wait to see what happens next.
It wasn't like The Mandalorian, how it sort of like drawed you in, every single week, as soon as you got to a certain time, you're like, I'm going to watch The Mandalorian. Then for the rest of the week, I'm going to be excited about the next episode.
No Disney Plus show has done that since The Mandalorian for me. Like Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 both did it.
Yep.
But I've never had another show on the platform that's done it.
But yeah, I binged this. Like I didn't watch it. I watched the first 2 episodes. I loved the first episode.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys thought.
I loved it as well.
Yeah, fantastic start.
And a longer episode too, which was awesome. It was a bit of like a Clone Wars movie.
Yeah.
It was like 50 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And so naturally, I watched the second episode, which I think they were released two in the first
I think
first
they
week.
did,
I think they released a double episode. And the second episode was just a filler episode. They're trying to get something for their ship and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I think what I was more interested in was the development and the transition between the Republic and the Empire. And I know Harry said before this that that's the most interesting aspect of the show, and I think, I definitely agree.
Yeah, and even saying that, I feel like that was quite lacking. I feel like he just touched it enough where it got to the point, oh, great, I can't wait to see this next transition. And then that'd be it for 2 episodes. And it'd be, a minute of an episode where it shows the transitioning of the changing of the flags or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Yeah. I remember getting really excited for the seeing the trailer when it first debuted. And I was mainly excited because you have Palpatine on a hologram talking to all of the clones.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I wanted to see, but instead we got Omega learning how to shoot a bow. No one wants to see that.
No,
let's be real. And I don't know, it just felt like there was way too much filler in the show. And look, shows have to have filler, but this is way too much. This is unacceptable amount of filler.
And I feel like sometimes with these Disney Plus shows, it's more like content instead of art. It's more of we need X number of episodes and we need it by this date. Just make it. We don't care if it's, if it's telling a interesting story or if it excels the universe. Just do it. We just need the content for Disney Plus. And so I just felt like that, especially after that first episode. It was this huge lull. And the only sort of time where it did pick up again was when we got returning characters. And Star Wars is infamous for this with The Mandalorian, just relying on the old favorites to sort of draw you in. And The Mandalorian was good enough by itself, so it wasn't that that outrageous to bring in, the Luke Skywalker and all of this.
Yeah.
And whereas this, it's Fennec Shand. Were you guys excited to see Fennec Shand again?
No.
And how about Cad Bane?
It was cool, right?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, my favourite part of the series, besides the transition scenes, was probably that quick shooter scene between Hunter. If we can go into a little bit of it. Yeah, between Hunter and Cad Bane. I thought the music was fantastic. It was an old Western. I quite enjoy some old Westerns, so I thought it was a great scene. But then that was it.
Yeah.
You go on to the next episode, and as you said, her name escapes me. I've watched Mandalorian too. And I thought, that's cool, okay. But when you put someone like her against a fan favourite, and he's meant to be top of his class, maybe second to Boba Fett, that's another discussion, but... I don't know. It sort of took away from the power of having his character on there. A little bit.
Yeah, you're completely right. The cool thing about that scene is it was a deleted scene from the Clone Wars. So from years ago, and then they decided to bring it back for this specific episode. I think it was a showdown between Boba and Cad Bane, and then they just
Yep.
like kind of replaced Boba Fett with Fennec Shand, which is like, why on earth would you do that when
Yeah, why not just have Boba?
why not just
Yeah.
have Boba?
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of seemed like they just moved on from Cad Bane
Yeah.
like the next episode, and it's like, why bring
Why-
him in then?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And there was also an episode where the Bad Batch were like not in the episode. Like it was the one where old mate Senator has been, or was it the Senator? Yeah, it was like Syndulla, Hera Syndulla.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
From Rebels.
Yeah.
And like the Bad Batch were like not in the episode. They only came in to like deliver them guns or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like if you want to tell a story about Hera Syndulla, like okay, I mean I haven't watched Rebels, but like if you're gonna make it interesting, sure. But like this is called the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I mean, what's the name called?
Yeah,
right?
and if just call it Clone Wars Season 8 if you want to tell all these different stories. If you want to see Cad Bane, like maybe a Cad Bane episode, a Fennec Shand episode. Like, if you want to do that, call it Season 8.
Yeah.
But it's Bad Batch. And the Bad Batch weren't in the actual episode.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I found the best part of that particular episode was the one clone who was sort of questioning this.
Yes.
And again, I can't quite remember his name. That's how.
He had a cool haircut, though.
Yeah, I remember his cool haircut, but and he was the most interesting part of that episode again. And so I agree with you. Why not just call it Clone Wars Season 8?
Yeah.
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 Mm.
I actually fell asleep in that episode. Like I'm being dead serious. I was so tired that I fell asleep watching it,
Yeah.
and then I like got up when it was finished, and I never watched it again. So some of the stuff that happened in that episode I don't remember.
You probably didn't miss out on a whole heap plot-wise.
No, nothing too vital to the overarching plot. And speaking of which, is there even an overarching plot to this series? Or is it sort of just the Bad Batch
Adventures.
living, like...
Just living their lives.
That's actually a really good question. I think that's something maybe the directors didn't quite sit down and... maybe more the story writers didn't sit down and go, well, hang on, what's the overarching... Because it looked like it was going to be the transition
Yeah.
and the survival of the Bad Batch during the transition, or rather their impact on...
Yeah.
I don't know, with the Rebels, something like that. And it might come to that later, but I agree, the first season, if you had to summarise it, you almost couldn't.
Yeah.
It's
No.
difficult.
Yeah. In terms of having a defining plot, is there a defining plot?
Yeah, is there an A to B sort
No,
of?
it seems like they were trying to focus on this sort of Baby Yoda Omega situation, and then the transition of the Republic to the Empire, and then you're also bringing in Rebels characters. So what's going on here? Like,
I'd probably add to that the crosshair thing as well. Of course,
yeah,
you know,
and the crosshair thing.
They didn't focus enough on each one
Yeah.
in depth to the point where it was just weird. It was like reading something without having it justified. And
I probably have to say that like Crosshair's sort of journey to like the dark side was one of my favorite elements of the show, and a lot of the time they just kind of decided not to focus on that for some reason. But yeah, if I was to summarize like the show in one word, I'd probably have to say like disappointing, like in terms of the whole.
Yeah. Okay, let's compare a bit to The Mandalorian then. So The Mandalorian, you have like a grizzly sort of powerful assassin sort of dude.
Yep.
Who gets a cute little child, and the child needs to be delivered. In The Mandalorian's case, the child needs to be delivered to the Jedi. There's our plot, there's our overarching season 1 to season 2.
Yep.
In this, they just copy the same thing. They give another child to the, grizzly hunter dude.
Yep.
And that's supposed to make him like a dad, and like you had to have like the father and son sort of dynamic. But it just, like, Omega doesn't need to go anywhere. She's sort of just there. And what is the history? She's a clone, but, like, why? Like, I just don't understand what they were going for there.
Yeah. Even if we just briefly talk about the season finale, even then, like you said about, okay, she's a clone, and they tried to make this great big reveal, like, oh, this is the lab you created, and oh, she's actually older than us because she was created for... Okay, cool. I kind of could have guessed that from episode 1. It doesn't
I don't
change.
care.
Yeah. It doesn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
just a bit underwhelming. Omega was just constantly annoying the entire time, and you love Baby Yoda because
You can't talk.
because yeah, exactly, because
he can't talk.
because Grogu doesn't make any noises and he's cute to look at, and that's about it. Like every now and then we'll use the Force in a kind of adorable or terrifying way,
Yeah.
and that's enough. But in this we have just. Omega seems to be good at everything. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but she just sometimes in the episodes the Bad Batch will be struggling with a certain situation, and then Omega will just come in and solve it. And I'm like, that doesn't connect me to the character. When you need to see characters sort of struggle and get through things and learn things.
Yeah.
Because it seems like Omega was just good to go out of the box.
Yeah. You're completely right there. It's kind of like a Rey Palpatine situation, right? Where they just get like all of their powers handed to them instantly because they don't want to take all the time to develop the character. And people have been comparing Omega to Ahsoka in the sense that in the first season, Ahsoka, no one liked her. Like everyone hated her, and then she became like one of Star Wars fan favorites. I mean, she's up there as one of my favorites for me, and I just can't see that happening. Like the character is just really frustrating to me how they handled it, and it's just there's nothing there to get me excited. With Ahsoka, it was always like, cool, she's a Jedi. I can see this going somewhere. But Ahsoka just has like a power bow and she's like a clone.
You mean Omega?
Yeah, Omega. Yeah. Oh, God forbid I make that I make that error. There's nothing there to get me hooked, Like I don't want to see her in season 2 again. Yeah.
You want to see Omega again, Harry?
Oh, look, I wouldn't care if she wasn't there. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between Ahsoka went through trials and tribulations over 6 seasons at least. And through her own trials, and like you said, Omega's fresh out of the box. Apparently, she's got all the abilities of everything, and it takes away any sort of character development. So.
Yeah, where'd you get that bow? Like, I've never seen that bow in Star Wars before.
Never.
Why didn't we have that in like the sequel trilogy? That would be much cooler than having Finn like having a gun.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just give him like a whatever that was, like a laser crossbow or bow and arrow? Like that looked dope. Like I want to see that in live action. But Star Wars does this where they go to the past and make things really, really cool, and then they just like forget to bring that forward. Like think of things like the Force Dash in the Phantom Menace, where Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn just like do a Force Dash down the corridor, and then nobody does that ever again.
To be fair though, it was probably a good thing that they didn't bring that back.
Yeah, but like just other sort of like ship designs and all of this sort of stuff that like they put in the past. And there's no sort of like continuity. Like, there's no sort of respect for the continuity. And if you're going to tell us that here's the Star Wars timeline, it's a whole universe, then at least go to the effort of like doing some sort of continuity. But any other thoughts, lads? Interested to see the second season?
Look, I'm not going to be opposed to it. I think they've received some. Let's call it criticism that can go a long way. They definitely need to figure out where they're going with this. The Mandalorian season 1 was very clear where they were going. I think they should stick to that formula, find one plot line that works and stick to it. And focus more so on the Republic and what the fans want to see. Like, no one wants to see another child becomes this protege. No one wants to see that anymore. We've got that with The Mandalorian. But I just wanted to touch on this point. I think the first part of the season finale was better than the season finale. Yeah. Which is never a good thing. Yeah. Like, the fact that you can't land it on the last episode, but you can land it on the penultimate, that's like a very bad issue that you need to get fixed. That's like amateur stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do we have a favourite episode of memory? I'd say like probably the first episode for me.
Yeah, definitely the first. Yeah, because I remember messaging you, Sam, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good! I'm so excited." And then the next episode, it was like, well, that was a disappointment. I don't want to see this. Yeah.
For me, it'd either be the first or the one where Cad Bane showed up the first time,
100%,
because it was sort of that cat and mouse chase with the bad. I believe that was the same episode, wasn't it? Where it was Crosshair. Was he chasing them through the ship, the old Republic ship?
Yeah.
That was or that might have been a separate one.
No, yeah, that was a separate one where we went to
That's right.
Where we went to like the Star, not the Star Destroyer, like the
cruiser or
the
whatever.
cruiser, the Republic cruiser.
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Yep.
That was a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like I said, probably the Cad Bane.
Yeah,
I thought that was fantastic the way he did that.
I also like the Rex episode. That was pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Seeing Rex back.
Yeah.
Because he's an interesting character. I mean, like, he's an existing character that we care about, and it was cool to see him.
Yeah.
Really cool visuals. I mean, he just looks fantastic. Like, the character design on Rex is just like
You can't miss on Rex. Yeah.
I might just add on to that when it comes to character design. I think the animation was quite good if you touch on that. It was definitely an upgrade. It's kind of like season 7 of the Clone Wars where you go, oh, look at this. Like they've certainly come a long way. I don't know.
For sure.
Better technology and all that, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the animation was really good. The music was was not as good as, say, season 7, but it was fine. Like, it's doable, I guess.
It complements it well, but there's nothing like that stands out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, okay, I ask you this. If you can give it a letter rating, what would you give it, Jaden?
Look, I'm not even gonna bother summarizing it. I'm going to give it a C- because it disappointed me more than it made me happy.
Right.
And I would say it's below average because I hated more of the episodes and I liked more of the episodes. Yeah.
Fair enough. Harry, you give it a letter rating?
Yeah, look, first time doing this, so straight off the bat.
Yep.
No, I think I'd probably give it about a C, maybe a C+.
Yeah.
There's definitely potential there. Didn't grasp it though.
Yeah,
Right.
fair enough.
Right. I'm going to make it a bit of a pun. I'm going to give a Disney Plus show a D+. Which is, you get what you deserve. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll be interested to see if they do something more interesting with the second season. But for me, I'm never going to watch this again. And if to get through in my rating, it has to be something that I at least enjoyed watching. And I feel like if we weren't doing this review, I probably would have stopped. Well, I mean, I did stop after the second episode. I'm not watching this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not watching this anymore. So yeah, maybe I should have stuck with that. But anyway, it was cool chatting with you guys about it. The Bad Batch. There it is. There's the review. And thanks for listening. And we will catch you next time.
See ya.